Hello, and welcome to In Your Spare Time, a weekly podcast of Ursula K. Le Guin's blog. My name is India Downs Le Guin. I'm one of Ursula's 4 grandchildren, and this week I'm very happy to bring you a reading, recorded in April 2025, by the wonderful Adrienne Maree Brown. Adrienne is the radically imaginative and generative writer of such best-selling books as Maroons, Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good, and along with Walida and Marisha, editor of Octavia's Brood, science fiction from social justice movements. Adrienne is also creator and host of the podcast How to Survive the End of the World with Autumn Brown. She's a singer and songwriter and a longtime activist and facilitator. Her words of healing offer hope and clarity to so many people. In 2022, we were honored to have Adrienne, along with 4 other writers, select the first winner of the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize for Fiction. It's no exaggeration to say that Adrienne's approach to that process has profoundly shaped the prize program, which is now in its 5th year of recognizing and lifting up other writers of imaginative fiction. Here's Adrienne's reading.
Hi, this is Adrienne Maree Brown, and I'm reading Post 3, The Absent Silence, from October 27, 2010. A year or 2 ago, I was asked to review a novel by Jose Saramago, and in looking up facts about him on Google, I found over and over the same quotation from him. Quote, "God is the silence of the universe, and man is the cry that gives meaning to that silence." End quote. It's from his Lanzarote journals, which aren't available in English. He quoted it himself last year in one of his own blogs, translated as The Notebook. I wanted it again just a couple of weeks ago for my introduction to the electronic edition of his novels being prepared, hurrah, by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. I wasn't sure I remembered it exactly, and The Notebook was up in the attic with Charles, and so I went confidently to Google it. I thought I knew how it started, so I tried God is Silence. That got me some hits, but nothing from Saramago. I tried God is the Silence. That got me the same page as before, so I tried Saramago quotations and variants on that. They all took me to a page with lots and lots of quotations from Saramago, singly, in sets of 20, in sets of 43, but in hurriedly looking through them, I didn't find the one I was looking for, certainly the most famous single thing Saramago ever wrote. At this point, paranoia raised its stupid little yellow-green head. Saramago was an atheist. Not of the professional Dawkinsian type, but a man to whom the whole God business made no sense, though it interested him. His antipathy was reserved for the profiteers and the powermongers of religion, such as the mufti who authorized marriage for girls of 10, the imam who approved stoning women accused of adultery, the pope who has found it so hard to condemn pederasty amongst his priests. His speaking out on such matters made him enemies, of course. I mean, the man was a godless commie foreigner. Really, he was. So I sat there entertaining paranoid thoughts. Had some zealous crusader gone through Google's material on Saramago and removed the offensive quotation? I knew this kind of thing happens on Wikipedia, but in a wiki, people look out for censoring and tampering and can make it unhappen just as promptly. How Google works? I didn't know. But I knew it's not a wiki. I didn't suspect Google of initiating censorship, but wondered if it was vulnerable to sneak in censorship. A worrisome thought to think about an information service that so many of us rely on. So, instead of going on looking for the quotation, as I should have done, I wrote a little blog about the mysterious absence of the quotation. My first reader read it and said, "But you didn't try God is the silence of the universe." Oh. So I asked Google for God is the silence of the universe and put it in quotes, and there it was, about 10,000 times, pages and pages of God is the silence of the universe. So much for paranoia. No crusaders, just my own lazy incompetence at Googling. But the mistake sometimes leads the mind to the place it really wanted to go. By embarrassing myself, and thanks to my first reader, I began to consider something I'd only very vaguely known and hadn't given much thought to. The fact that How Google gets and handles its information is an industrial secret. Understandably, if how Thomases got the nooks and crannies into their English muffins is an industrial secret, how Google comes to know everything that is known certainly deserves to be one too. And yet, it is disturbing. Paranoia? I know that people far better equipped to discuss this whole matter have discussed it at length. Undoubtedly, I could look up such discussions through Google. At this point, I'm not ready to read them. I need to think about it in my own terms first. Putting it into language familiar to me, it's as if a great library, say the Library of Congress, refused to tell where they got their books and how they got their books and who chose the books and whether all the books they had were in the catalog and available or some were held back, kept secret. Of course, there's no point in libraries doing that. A public library has no industrial secrets, not being in business for the money. A public library is a public trust. And the trust, in that old-fashioned phrase, has to be, mutual, reciprocal. The public trusts the library not to censor, change, or withhold valuable books or information, as the library trusts the public won't force them to censor, change, withhold, or destroy books or information. And if the library, at the request of the public, does withhold some material from some people, as in finding ways to keep exploitative pornography from children using the library, this is done, if it's rightly done, openly, with knowledge and consent on both sides. But a great corporation, even one sworn to do no evil, makes no such bargain with the public. There is no reciprocity. Trust is not mutual. It's understood that the public interest, if considered at all, comes second to the interests of the corporation. Profit, growth, and power. So, the corporation can and will keep its secrets, even though what it is dealing in is information, even when its business is making knowledge accessible, open, free, the very opposite of keeping secrets. What a strange, paradoxical situation. It is quite beyond me. I can't help but wonder if it might also be beyond even the intelligent and competent people who run Google. Do they really know what they're doing? And if they don't, do they know they don't? Or is that too a secret kept even from themselves? Ursula K. Le Guin, 27th of October, 2010. I am so grateful to get to read this piece. It feels incredibly relevant right now as Google is being targeted as one of the companies that is possibly not moving in good faith and not protecting our data in the ways it needs to. And I'm also really moved because this is often what happens to me with reading Ursula K. Le Guin's work. It's why I have gone back to her work repeatedly, is that things that she wrote years and decades ago feel so relevant across the span of time. And each time I return to them, I find that they still apply to the world that I'm in now. And I think that's what the best of speculative and science fiction and fantasy do, is they allow us to step out of our world enough to see it clearly, step out of our own thinking enough to see ourselves more clearly, and then step back in and be able to apply our imagination and our questions, our curiosity to the world at hand. I think she does that in the best way. And I am so honored I got to meet Ursula Le Guin. I got to sit in her presence. I got to sit in her papers and study her as the Ursula Le Guin feminist sci-fi scholar of 16, and get to experience her as a living being on this earth who, was mind-blowingly curious. And I love that she went looking for this quote and then spends very little time on the actual quote and what she needed for the silence of the universe, right? But I think that there is something to pull out of this, which is if we don't think about how these corporations tell their business and ours and how they hold our privacy and secrecy and how they move in good faith, in trust with us, then we silence all the things that we have learned and know with each other. We silence the histories that we have written down. We let things be burned when we need to be engaging them and when our kids still need to access them. So I'm really grateful I got to read this. I'm continuously grateful for the work that Ursula K. Le Guin did on this earth and that she left behind for us. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to In Your Spare Time. Our thanks to this week's reader. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and share this episode with a friend. You can find us and Ursula's blog online and in the socials at Ursula K. Le Guin. In Your Spare Time is brought to you by the Ursula K. Le Guin Foundation and produced by Richard Stewart Perkins, Molly Templeton, and Theo Downs Le Guin. Our theme music was composed and performed by Todd Barton. We'll see you next week on In Your Spare Time.